Oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over till another year?
What's going on, everybody? This is Drew here. I want to welcome you all to a brand new episode of Phoenix Down. This is Phoenix Down episode number 97.0. And we are continuing, and finishing our playthrough of, I guess the full title is The Dark Picture Chronicles, Man of Medan.
A quickie.
I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Is it Medan?
I was calling it Medan.
Medan?
Man of Medan.
Medan?
Like Milan, but Medan.
Yeah, that's the southern way of saying it.
It doesn't play a huge part in the game, so I don't think it matters all that much.
Yeah.
At least not mine.
So, Matt, he's joined us this evening. So we were originally going to do Dead Space 3. Unfortunately, a few things happened, and we couldn't get together to co-op it. I really want to co-op this game with you, Matt, so we decided to hold off on it, and we're going to go back and kind of do the tradition of the past 3 years of playing a game in December and doing A Nightmare Before Christmas. So I think that's what we're going to do for our scary game. But we figured, hey, you know what? There's plenty of other scary games out there. And Matt brought up the fact that, hey, we could do Man of Medan. And I was like, you are absolutely right. And that's an easy one to do. So, yeah. This one took me 2 play sessions to get through.
Yeah, me too.
So our history with the game itself. So this game actually came out late last year.
Last August, I think.
Yeah. On Xbox One, PC, and PlayStation 4. Created by Supermassive Games. I think the only other game they have under their belt is Until Dawn, right?
I think so. I mean, that's certainly where I heard of them, and I think they've got. Let's look at this. They've got The Inpatient.
That's a prequel to Until Dawn, I think, but it's VR.
Yeah. Yep. A couple of years ago, 2018.
Yeah. So my history, as far as Man of Medan goes, was I was following this as soon as they announced it. Because they said it is a spiritual successor to Until Dawn. And I absolutely adored Until Dawn.
Me too, and more than I thought I would. I mean, I kind of thought I would like it, but I don't know. It just had kind of... it was nice and campy. Almost like what we were looking for last year a bit. And, this, I think, knew it was a little bit campy. It was playing into a lot of the horror stereotypes. And it was, it was just a fun game.
Absolutely. I played through Until Dawn 3 times. Played it once by myself. Played it a second time with my buddies who came over, and we were doing the whole pass the controller around after a chapter kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I played it again with my wife back whenever we were still dating. And I don't know what it was about Until Dawn. That is the one game that she loves. We tried other games. We have tried other games. She loved Until Dawn so much she said, "Let's do some more scary games," because I really liked Until Dawn.
And scary movies.
Yeah. Well, we do scary movies on occasion. But she was never interested in video games much. But with Until Dawn, she legit enjoyed our time with that game. And I played the entire thing. She never touched the controller, but she loved it. And I let her make the choices and kind of stuff like, what do you want to do here? And she'd make the choices. But we never were able to get that lightning in a bottle again. She wanted to do scary games. I was like, what? I said, well, here's a whole list of scary games. Which one do you want to try? So she originally went with Silent Hill Downpour. No, Silent Hill Homecoming. Mm-hmm. She said she saw the picture, like the cover of the game, and she's like, that looks kind of creepy. Let's do that one. So we went out and purchased Homecoming, which I had played before. We made it probably 15 minutes into that game, and she said, "Not turn that off." She's like, I don't. She said that's way too scary.
Too scary. I was gonna wonder if it was too scary or too gamey, right? Because Until Dawn certainly plays out, more cinematic than most games would.
Yes. So it kind of fell down from there. I mean, we did play a few games together, and she's watched me play a few games here and there, but nothing to the extent of Until Dawn. Until Dawn was like a week-long event. She'd come over. We would play about an hour of it. This is while we were still dating. And it was, until we beat the game kind of thing. But, yeah. And Man of Medan was same thing. So I was excited for this. In fact, I even told Ken, I was like, look, I want to review this game. Like, I want to review this. And he requested it. We got it, and he gave it to me for review. I reviewed the game. And it was kind of like a little event. I had my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law were over. Me and my brother-in-law, for the most part, were the ones that played. Like, we passed the controller around. And we got about halfway through the game before he got, like, it started getting late, and we were like, we gotta go to bed. But of course, they left, so I went ahead and finished the game so I could get my review done. And I asked him, when I decided to go and finish the game, I asked Laura, I was like, hey, you wanna come in here and do some Man of Medan? She's like, I'm good. She's like, that one's not really calling out to me. I was like, okay. I was like, it's the same people who did Until Dawn. I mean, it plays exactly like Until Dawn, but she couldn't get on board with it. So, but yeah, I've played this before. I've reviewed it before. And that's pretty much it. I knew exactly what I was getting into. I loved Until Dawn, and I was like, I'm probably going to love this game too. So, Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I had the same kind of lead into it. I just hadn't played it before. I kind of knew that I would pick up this game as soon as it was announced, just because I really enjoyed Until Dawn. A little confused about what they were doing with it. Right, it's a first episode, but how many are they going to have? How much of a game actually is it if it's just an episode? So a couple of question marks going into it, but kind of regardless of all that, I was like, yeah, whatever they've decided to do, I'll check it out at some point. So I picked it up. I guess I've got it digitally and the disc. I've loaded it up a few times and just never pulled the trigger on actually sitting down and playing through it, and just kind of thought, it'd be a good sub in because it's probably going to be easier than other games as well as reasonably short. So slotted in here. Yeah, I mean, that didn't have too much else as a lead in other than, looked forward to playing it, and And now have.
So you bought it day one?
I didn't buy it day one. I think I bought it. I think what I had done is looked into it, and I'm like, all right, it seems like a little bit of a tough sell. So I think at full price, and so as soon as it dropped in price, I picked it up.
So it released at what, $29.99, I think.
Was it 29? I thought it was 39.
It might have been 39. I can't remember. And that was one of the big things for me. I was like, well, even if we don't get this for review, I'm buying it. Because it is at a lower price, and they have been pretty much, kind of transparent when it came to what this game actually is. So,
yep.
And that's what I had when I finished Until Dawn, I was thinking, I want more of this, but not the same setting. And I was like, wouldn't it be kind of cool if they released a game every couple of years like this, and it was a completely different setting, almost
your
like
anthology.
Your anthology Twilight Zone episode, or, one of them could be about vampires, and then one could be about werewolves, and one could be about ghosts. I was like, this would be the perfect thing. Then, as the trendsetter that I am, they come and announce the Dark Picture Chronicles, and hey, that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing bite-sized games that are horror-themed, but all have a different setting, different characters, different story altogether. And when I heard that, I was like, I'm on board. Whatever game they release, I'm going to buy it, guaranteed. And
I didn't realize the next one's supposed to come out in like 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
October 30th is what I see.
I'm pretty sure they pushed that back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they did. Even though at the end of this game, they give you that little preview of it and saying coming in 2020. I'm pretty sure it got pushed back due to coronavirus and stuff like that. I think they had some setbacks there. But so Man of Medan, I'm completely on board with this. I'm completely on board with the Dark Picture Chronicles. The only thing I hate is that I miss Peter Stormare so much.
Yeah, me too.
I really wish they could have got him back to be the host of this. The guy who is the host is okay, but he's not Peter Stormare. And I would assume that the biggest star in this is Sean Ashmore. Right?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know any of these other actors. I don't think.
No, I don't recognize any of them.
Yeah. So that's one thing we do need to mention is that Until Dawn and Man of Medan have real actors in it. It's not live action. They basically use mocap for everything, but they use real world actors to do this. Sometimes they are people who you may know. Sometimes they are actors that have been in a few movies here and there. Some movies you probably never seen before.
I mean, Until Dawn was a step up as far as cast goes.
Absolutely,
across the board.
Yeah, you had Peter Stormare. You had
Rami Malek,
who hadn't hit his big stride yet when that game came out. But when that game came out, all of a sudden he's in every damn movie he ever made. And then Hayden, I can't pronounce her last name.
Yeah, Panettiere,
whatever. Which at that time,
the cheerleader.
Yeah, the cheerleader. At that time, that was the most recognizable person. I knew Peter Stormare, but
yeah, I mean, I kind of love Peter Stormare.
He has always been the character actor. He's always either played a Russian mobster or Satan. That's the only thing I can think of. Definitely the cast was way up there for Until Dawn. But so Man of Medan. For those who are uninitiated, this and Until Dawn is kind of like an adventure game. In fact, it feels a lot like a Telltale series game, like The Walking Dead or the Tales from the Borderlands. You are given choices, and they really push the fact that your choices actually matter. They affect the outcome of certain things, including whether or not a character in the game dies. And it's one of those games where, this person can die, and the game just keeps going. So it's in the same vein as like Telltale or Quantic Dreams games. As Jay Lee once said during the Game of the Year, that Game of the Year show that Until Dawn came out, Until Dawn was on his list, and he said that if oh god, what's his name? The guy from Quantic Dream.
David Cage.
David Cage. He said if David Cage was dead, he would be rolling in his grave of how good Until Dawn is compared to his games. So, but yeah, the game basically revolves around making choices, talking, like dialogue options and stuff like that, as well as simple QuickTime events. And QuickTime events matter. If you fail,
certainly do.
Yeah, if you fail some QuickTime events, it could very well mean the death of your character. So, you always have that looming over your head. But yeah, Man of Medan is about this group of mid-20s, early 20s to mid-20s group of adventurers who are going out on a small vacation on a diving expedition. They are particularly looking for wrecks, like plane wrecks or shipwrecks or something like that. We're first introduced to Brad, who is the younger brother to Alex. Brad is kind of like the nerdy guy.
Yeah, a little bit fidgety and wears glasses, so must be the nerd.
That must be the nerd, right? Yeah. But he has actually tracked down a wreck, an old wreck from World War II that he thinks would be a really cool dive to see if we can find some stuff. Alex, who is the headstrong brother, he is really trying to impress his girlfriend, which is Julia. And because Julia and her brother, Connor, are going to be joining them on this expedition. Connor and Julia come from a wealthy family. Alex and Brad do not. He wants to impress both Julia and Connor because... Conrad. No. Connor, Conrad, Connie. They call him all sorts of names. Which we should say Conrad, Connor, or Connie, same person, is all played by Sean Ashmore. I keep saying Ashmore. Sean Ashmore, who you may know from the X-Men movies as Iceman. I think that would be his biggest claim to fame.
Yeah, I think so. He was in a couple other things, right? Frozen and...
Yeah. And he was also in another video game. He was in Quantum Break as the main character there. And more recently, he was in The Boys as Lamplighter in season 2. But yeah, so they're going on this diving expedition, and what was the name of the boat? The Duke of Milan, not Mulan. The Duke of Milan is being captained by a potentially shady character by the name of Fliss. So I don't know if you got this, but you find some credentials of hers playing as Alex, where it obviously looks forged.
Yeah, like she's made them herself.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, this is weird. But we find out after playing as Fliss that, she's in a little bit of trouble debt-wise, and she's trying to make as much money as she can so she can pay off this boat. But these are our main characters. These are the characters that we will be alternating playing as. In fact, so you have the option when you first start the game to play solo or to play with a co-op partner. So there's actually 3 ways to play it. There is solo play, there is online co-op, and then there is kind of like couch co-op, but it is you pass the controller. In fact, the game will tell you, go ahead and pass the controller to the next player. It's the developers realized, hearing people's anecdotes from Until Dawn, that a lot of people sat down with a group of people and played it just like that. Played a chapter, passed the controller, played a chapter, passed the controller, and they wanted to have that in their game, so they added that little feature in. But the online co-op is actually pretty interesting, because the online co-op, both people are playing at the same time. So me and Matt could be playing together. I'm playing a part, Matt's playing a part at the exact same time. We're not seeing the same thing. So there's plenty of times in this game where characters split off into different sections of the story. It's happening at the same time, but you're basically seeing what the other characters are doing at the same time.
So is it that, because this game also has this curator mode where you can see a number of scenes from the other person's perspective, so I assume that if you're playing online and you've got your 2 people, one person's playing the curator mode version of scenes,
yes,
and one person's playing the regular version?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
So you're never left out if you just play solo. You can always go back and play it again in the curator mode and see the other stuff. And considering that, this game's kind of jam-packed for $40.
Yep.
There's a ton here.
And there's a ton of reason to play through it a second or even a third time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is easy to do since it's only 4 or 5 hours long.
Yeah, 4.5 hours tops for me.
Yeah, I mean, I came in at just under 4, I think.
Yeah, it's not very long. It's a little bit longer than a feature-length movie, I would say. Maybe a Lord of the Rings extended cut. And that's if you're doing a lot of exploring. So, yeah.
And the more you do, the more time it takes because they don't walk fast.
They do not. And there is a run button, but it's not a run button. It is more of just to kind of shuffle a little bit quicker button.
Slightly less slowly.
Yeah. And I held that thing down the entire time. But, Matt, you played on PS4, correct?
I did play on the PS4, yeah.
Okay, I played on Xbox One, so I need to ask you a question. When there were times that you were hiding, while you were hiding, did you have to do a button press, or did you have to do the Until Dawn thing and hold the dual analog, or not the dual analog, but hold the dual shock still?
It was a button press.
Okay. So they
a lot
changed
of that.
that.
It was the heartbeat button press.
Yes.
So it was a lot of tap, 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 tap.
Right. So if you remember correctly, in Until Dawn, they made you hold the controller still and make sure that the little light bar symbol stayed inside the outline. And I figured when I first played this, because I had the Xbox version, I was like, they don't have motion control in this controller, so they had to do something for this. So they made it a quick time kind of rhythm action game.
Yeah.
But kind of find out they did it like that for all versions of the game.
Yeah, maybe that's the same reason, right? They just to keep it consistent between the various platforms.
That's what I would assume too. But yeah, so I did want to ask that question because I didn't know how it worked. But yeah, So I should backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, you just start off with a prologue.
Yeah. We start off with a prologue. I was getting into the main characters. So we start off in 1947. Is that 1947?
Yep.
During World War II, we are playing as a U.S. soldier, Joe, right? I think it's his name.
Yeah. You got the two people there, but yeah, Joe is the main one, I think.
Yeah.
Joe and Charlie.
And they are stationed in Shanghai, I believe. That's where they're at.
Yeah, I think so.
And off the coast of Shanghai, there they have their World War II frigate, I guess.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a military ship, a warship.
Yeah, a military warship that's stationed there. And we play as Joe, as he is drinking with his buddy Charlie and spending money, getting his fortune told, and playing boxing games with this little dummy. The first thing I found strange was that Joe, who was in the U.S. military, who speaks with a very thick, fake Southern accent, knows exactly what these Chinese people are saying in Mandarin.
Yeah, maybe he's been stationed over there for years.
I mean, it could be. I don't buy it. But anyway, so they get drunk. They're like, okay, we got to go back to the ship. They go back to the ship, and they start fighting over money. It's like, hey, you owe me 50 cents. Nah, I don't know you crap. They start fighting. Here comes the commanding officer, the CO. Bam! Cold cocks him right in the face. Joe's knocked out. Other guy's being thrown in the brig. Joe then wakes up, and for a split second there, he notices that the doctors are looking over him and some other people, and they're talking to him. He doesn't understand what they're saying, and then he passes out again. When he wakes up, all hell has broken loose on the ship. There are multiple dead bodies, some of which have been shot, some of which have been stabbed, some of which have not been injured in any way. He's finding dead bodies that look like they have literally been scared to death.
Yeah. Always a good setup as, what has done this?
What's going on here?
Yep.
So, as we're playing as Joe, he starts seeing weird stuff, particularly a child running around on board this military ship that is now out at sea.
Yeah, it should certainly not have children.
Yes.
I immediately thought something was weird, though, when they got kind of knocked out and locked up, because I'm like, I guess I don't really understand. Are these the only two that were out drinking? Were they not supposed to be? If this is the end of a tour, I wasn't quite sure what the situation was, but the fact that they would get nailed just for being drunk, I thought was like maybe something else is going on with the ship, and it's not just a straight military ship.
Well, a little later on, you do find some reading materials, which mentioned that the commanding officer of the ship had issued that there would be a no drinking policy for the duration of the trip. And I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, that would do it.
Joe is seeing some weird stuff. He finally runs back into Charlie, who's in the brig. He lets him out, and they both carry on, going through the rest of the ship, finding more dead bodies. Crazy stuff is happening. They're seeing stuff, relatively creepy stuff. There's other people screaming on board. There's gunfire. So something is obviously going on this ship. At one point, we have to hide from the commanding officer, who is standing there with a machine gun.
Yeah, waving it around.
Because he is freaking out, and everybody's just like, okay, he's lost his freaking mind. So we're going to sit there and hide from this guy. This is where they kind of introduce the hold your breath moment kind of thing. But needless to say, once we get into the cargo hold, that's where things take a turn for the worse. Charlie, unfortunately, is missing. He gets separated from Joe. We run back in and find Charlie being, taken away, dragged away by something, and probably brutally murdered. At this point, they're able to find a gun, and you play as Joe. He has the gun, and we get basically our first real choice, which is we see a little boy with a really messed up face run into a locker. And we have the option to either shoot the locker or do nothing. What did you choose to do?
I did nothing.
And what happened when you did nothing?
I don't remember. What did happen?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I chose to shoot the locker. I unload into the locker, and it slowly opens, and this boy emerges with a really messed up face. Ghost demon dead boy. And he makes Joe have a heart attack. Basically, he jumps up in his face, scares the crap out of him, and he falls over of a heart attack, and dies with this horrible look on his face.
Yeah, I think it was pretty similar to that.
Okay. I if I remember correctly, I think Justin Solani, I was talking to him about it. He said he didn't shoot. I think he said that the boy jumped out of the locker with a knife and stabbed Joe and killed him. And that kind of makes sense. A little bit later on. So. Now, we cut back to the diving expedition. Back to 2019. I guess 2019. They don't actually specify. I think they just say present day or whatever. But yeah, we're playing as these, 6 characters? No, 5 characters. There's Brad, Alex, Julia, Connor, and Fliss. Yeah.
Fliss, yep.
5. So, yeah. Everybody's excited going on this big diving expedition. They are, really looking forward to maybe finding some buried treasure if they want. Of course, Fliss is not happy about that. She says there's rules. You really shouldn't be messing with, shipwrecks or anything like that because, people died there. It's a sacred area. You shouldn't be disturbing, somebody's resting place. Very superstitious of her.
Yeah, and aggressively so.
Yeah. Yeah, Fliss is very aggressive at the beginning parts of this game. But, yeah. So everybody...
Which I assume was intentional to make it look like she might have ulterior motives or have something else going on. Otherwise, I'm not sure why she would be so adamant.
I think they do that for a reason. Because something... A little bit later on, they bring it back up. At least for me, they did. So... everybody's gearing up for this, big dive that they're going to be doing. Unfortunately, Brad is seasick, so he goes and chills out below deck. But Alex and Julia are ready to dive. At this point, we're getting a few choices here and there. So they give you these choices it's usually two options, with a third option being say nothing. Which I don't think I said. I don't think I ever chose say nothing ever in this game.
I know. I only did it once in the whole game.
Yeah. So, I don't think there's anything that changes your bearing, as the game calls it, because when you make a choice, it's essentially like, oh, this person will remember this, or this will change your fate. They have like this, you made a decision that's going to alter the ending or the fate of this person, essentially.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time just kind of looking at things that give you, the player, some information, but don't seem to affect the game all that much.
Right. So, I guess the big first thing that we have to do is do the dive itself. At this point, we have two different crews. We have Julia and Alex going down in a dive to this plane wreck that they had found. Then you have Brad, Conrad, and Fliss still on the Duke of Milan, awaiting the divers to come back. So if you play the solo mode, you're going to play as Brad and Julia. Not Brad, Alex and Julia as they go diving. There's a few jump scares here. Just a couple.
Yeah.
There's the one with the eel.
Yep.
And there is a choice here of looking for something. So there is, I believe, a manifest that you can find, but you have to, like, as you're playing as Julia, but you have to take off her rebreather, which allows her to, breathe underwater. And in doing so, it could, get her injured. And you have to do a quick time event properly. I was able to do it properly, and everything went fine there. This is obviously a World War II plane that had went down. It had been shot down, and it seemed like everybody on board died. They were all still kind of locked up in the plane itself.
Yeah, sitting in the chairs.
Yeah, sitting in the chairs. But there's a couple of things we do find. There is we can investigate a bullet, which then is what we realize brought the plane down. We can take that with us. There's a couple other things. Do we have to do what Julia does and break the freaking plane?
I didn't really see a way around it.
I didn't see a way around it either, but I'm just like, why would you do that? Why would you pull on it? She pulls. She gets into the cockpit, and she pulls on the rudder, the controller. I don't know, steering wheel.
Yeah.
And she pulls on it and makes the plane almost break in half.
Yeah, at least the cockpit comes apart and falls.
Yeah. And there's no option to not do that. And I'm just like, why? You're an idiot.
Yeah. And I mean, even if they didn't really care for Fliss's, adamant about, because she repeats a few times, don't touch anything, do not touch anything, you shouldn't even be going down there, don't leave any mark that you have been there. I mean, what was done with the throttle seems a bit beyond what you would just do, even if you were being mildly careful about what you were doing.
Yeah.
It's just, it was kind of super reckless.
So while they are down there diving, we cut to up top on the boat with Fliss and Connor. And we play as Conrad, as he is trying to flirt his best with Fliss. And as this is going on, no, you play as Fliss, excuse me. And as this is going on, we notice a boat pulls up to the ship, or to the Duke of Milan, and some really shady looking characters show up. They actually run into the boat because they hit the dive line, I guess. I don't know what that is they hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the dive line, the guide wire.
Yeah, and they run into the boat. Well, one of the guys who obviously looks like a bad guy because he's missing an eye and has a glass eye. He's really upset and says, "Hey, you damaged our boat." And they're like, "Well, you're the idiot that ran into it, coming like a bat out of hell." Well, Conrad kind of doesn't care, and he, he's rich. He doesn't care. He's like, "Here, how much would it cost to get it fixed?" And he starts throwing money into the water like it means nothing to him. And these guys on this boat are looking at him like, is this guy serious? And the whole time I'm playing as Fliss, I'm like, just get out of here. Get the hell out of here. What are you doing? But I remember the first time we played this, like my wife, she was like, what is this idiot doing? Why is he doing this? It's like, can you make him stop doing this? But so he's kind of showboating and showing that, hey, we got money. During that time we then cut back to the divers, Alex and Julia. And after Julia breaks the freaking plane in half, we're saying, okay, it's time for us to go up, return. Because we almost had a plane break on us. As we are surfacing, we noticed that there are actually two boats in the water above us. And then all of a sudden, there is a fire, an explosion breaks off of the Duke of Milan. And they're like, what the hell's going on up there? Oh my God. And Julia is freaking out. She's like, we gotta go. We gotta go right now. And
yeah, she wants to rush up and see what's going on.
Yeah, and we're playing as Alex. Alex is like, so you have to make the choice. Either, all right, let's go on up, or, nope, we got to wait, because if we don't wait, we'll get the bends. There's a decompression time. You have to decompress before you surface. I don't know how this stuff works. I've never dove before.
It's solubilized gases in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
So I think when you come up too quickly, the gas expands and you get bubbles in your blood. I think.
Gotcha. Okay. So what did you choose here, Matt?
I said let's stay down.
Okay.
On the first pass, and then the second time she asked, I said, all right, let's go up.
Gotcha. I said stay down the entire time.
Nice and safe.
Well, all right. I'll put it this way. I've played this game before. So I knew what was actually going on.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess if you know not to go up, there's no reason to, right? It's not that big of a deal. It's not that we're being attacked by the three guys on the boat.
Right. So, when we surface, we see that Connor and Fliss are standing there next to the barbecue, and they're like, "What the hell was that explosion?" He's like, "God, we lit the coals, and they kind of exploded. We put a little bit too much lighter fluid on it." And they're like, "Oh, okay. What the hell was that boat about?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was just some guys. They ran into us and then drove off." And they're like, "Okay, whatever. We thought you guys were like getting killed." And that's kind of like the big first chapter break, I believe. Or is it afterwards?
I was surprised they weren't really like named and numbered more obviously.
I feel like, is the game divided into chapters and then acts? Or acts then chapters? I feel like that's how it is, because I feel like Act 1, and then you have the narrator talk to you. Act 2, narrator talk to you. Act 3, narrator talk to you at the end. I feel like that's how it works.
Yeah, I think so.
But this isn't the end of the first act. The first act is what happens later on that night. So I feel like I hate to do this, but I feel like we have to skip a few things because we're not even through the first act and we're already 44 minutes into this podcast. So I'm going to try and hit the big points. So the first big thing that happens is after we surface, everybody's kind of sitting around and talking and stuff like that. But the big thing that happens, and this is something that I forgot to mention, but while we're diving, as we're getting ready to come back up to the surface, before the explosion happens, we have the option of proposing to Julia. Did you propose to Julia, Matt?
No.
You didn't get that option?
I it was clear that he was going to, but I think I would have chosen yes, but I don't remember him actually saying, actually proposing.
Okay, well, I said I do. So Julia and Alex are engaged throughout the rest of the game for me.
No, they definitely weren't for me.
Oh, wow. Okay. There is an achievement / trophy for getting engaged.
You don't have to survive the engagement?
Yeah, well, no, it pops as soon as you say yes. But, yeah. So, later on that night, as everyone is sleeping, unfortunately, someone comes aboard very stealthily, and they take everybody hostage because, well, they have knives and guns and we don't. And come to find out, it is the same people who were from the boat earlier. I guess they kind of figured that, they could they could probably get some money out of these people because Connor's just throwing money in the water like it's no big deal. So they take everybody on the boat hostage and then kind of hijack the Duke of Milan.
What was the reason here for this?
Why did they do that?
Yeah.
I'm assuming because Connor had a bunch of money throwing it out there, and they figured they could probably do it as hostages.
Okay, because I thought I missed something here, right? Because there's a few different things, right? Either they're just out to pirate people,
right?
In which case, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I don't know. The Duke of Milan's a pretty small ship out there in the middle of nowhere. Did they just accidentally happen upon them?
That I don't know.
Or, yeah, maybe it doesn't matter, but it seemed like, was it just a coincidence, and did they not have any intent to pirate them until they came upon them? And then the idea, and then did they not find any money, so they decided to take them hostage? Because it doesn't, later on you learn there's no real intent to kill them, and then things just kind of spiraled a bit.
Yeah, things kind of spiraled. So here's what happened in my game. Because if you play as Julia, and if you find that piece of paper, that manifest that she went after she took the rebreather off, she finds manifest that mentions there is Manchurian gold out there in the water. And right before we go to bed that night, they have Brad basically find coordinates that's mentioned on this, and they're thinking that they could do another dive the next day to find this Manchurian gold.
Yep.
So after the the hijackers kidnap everybody. They're looking on the ship, and they see this and say, "Oh, you guys are looking for gold, huh? Well, now you're going to take us to it." And that's basically what's going to what ends up happening. But they don't think of the monkey wrench of us trying to escape. And so, while we're trying to escape during a storm, we then, bam, run into, well, the USS whatever. So, the big thing here that can happen, you're playing as Conrad. There's a few options here. The first one being, do you let Conrad escape?
And I said, hell yes, he's going to go for help.
Okay. So did Conrad escape in your game?
Well, he tried to.
Uh-oh.
Didn't get very far.
So he got killed, did he?
Yeah, he was speedboating away and then got a bullet in the back, I think.
Ooh. So on my first playthrough, Conrad escaped properly. Apparently that's a really rare achievement. I think only like 7% of players got that one. Apparently,
really?
Yeah, apparently you have to do everything perfect. I don't know how I did that.
Yeah, I think I was only one button press away from that.
Did you fail a QTE?
Yeah, at the very last second.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because I had done everything. Like, I got him. I got him untied. I got him out the window. He crept along the side of the Duke of Milan. He could have jumped in to intervene in a fight, but I had him go for the boat. He made it into the boat. He powered it up. He was speedboating away. And then the guy with the glass eye shot him in the back. And it was, I was not, I was watching this unfold, and then the QTE prompt came up, and I just reflexively spasmed and hit the O button, but I was supposed to hit the triangle button, and he died. Well, actually, I didn't know that he died. I knew that he got shot.
Right.
I didn't know that he was dead. I still, throughout the rest of this game, assumed that he was going to come back with help. He did not.
Until the end of the game? And then
until the end of the game, and then you get a scene that confirms that he did not make it.
He did not make it, yeah.
Yeah, you just see his boat floating out there, and then there's a bird who just pecked his eyeball out.
Nice. So, yeah.
So my Conrad story was pretty short.
Sorry to Sean Ashmore. He, you killed the most high profile actor in the game, Matt. But yeah. So in my first playthrough, he escaped. My second playthrough, I said, I don't want him to escape, but I also don't want him to die. So I deliberately failed a couple of QTEs here. And he got caught. So he gets to go to the nice big ghost ship. So what ends up happening is during the storm, the Duke of Milan runs into this giant warship, the same warship from 1947 that we saw at the beginning of the game.
That's just been floating around for 70 years.
Exactly. And still has power and still has gas in the generators.
Still on? Yeah.
Yeah. I have some issues with this, but anyway. So, for some odd reason, I guessed the hijackers, which I should say, what's the hijackers' names? So there's Junior, there's, I can't remember the
Olis?
Asian.
Is it one of them Olis?
Olsen is the main guy. Olsen
Yeah.
is the guy with the glass eye. He's the head honcho.
And Danny?
Danny. Danny's the other guy. Yeah, Danny. So they all think it's a good idea. Hey, there's this weird, like, rust bucket of a ship just floating out here that nobody's ever seen before. Let's board it. So they force everybody to board that ship. And that is the end of Act 1. We get the nice little cutscene with the narrator talking to us about our choices. He even offers up a hint. Did you take the hint, Matt?
I did reluctantly take the hint.
Okay.
I didn't want any help. I took the hint and then breathed a sigh of relief because it was no help anyway.
So it is help at the end of the game. But he actually quotes Shakespeare and says that not all that glitters is gold. And he says some things may not be as they seem.
Yep. So I can buy that this ship was floating for 70 years.
Sure.
But it's clearly it's not anchored, right?
Nope.
So who knows where it would be. So there's no expectation that they're anywhere near the coordinates, correct?
That's correct. As far as I know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they just ran into this ship out of the blue. It's not like they went to the coordinates and then the ship was there.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So, that is when we now take over as Alex, I believe. One other thing I forgot to mention. During this time, did you have Brad hide?
Yep.
Okay. As did I. So, as far as the kidnappers go, Brad does not exist. When Brad noticed that people were getting taken hostage, he hid in his bunk up under his bed, and he didn't board the ghost ship.
Yep, he's a wild card.
Yep. So, right now with me, I have Alex, Conrad, Fliss, and Julia on the ghost ship.
Yep, and I'm down to 3.
Well, so as we're exploring this ship, some weird things start happening. Slowly but surely, we start seeing some things. Particularly dead bodies everywhere. Many of which look like they have been either shot or stabbed or, once again, scared to death. And we're starting to find some more reports. Manchurian gold is most certainly on this ship. Oh, snap. So, looks like somebody's getting rich, but we don't know who just yet. I don't know how to speak about the rest of this, except for the fact that there is multiple parts where you can choose to either run or hide or something like that. The kidnappers eventually lock everybody up in this room, and we've got to figure out a way to escape. I can't remember which room it's in, but I remember there was one where, throughout this whole game, you can pull the right trigger to pick up something, and you pick it up and hold it to your face and you read it. And you can also examine it.
Flip it over, yeah.
Yeah. There was one part where you picked up a piece of paper, and just like the 800th time that you've done this before, but when you go to put it back down, a arm comes out from across the table and grabs your wrist for a second.
Yep. Yeah, they do a couple of those jump out scares. There's one point, I think, when you open a casket and the same thing happens. A hand reaches out and grabs yours.
Yeah. So there's a couple of subtle things, and then there's a couple of just jump scares. The subtle ones I have to give it to them. They are fantastic. Because it's something, especially when I played as Conrad. I don't know if this happened in your game, but playing as Conrad, he had an encounter that I thought was fantastic. So he is encountering what starts out, so it's very subtle. As you're playing as Conrad, he runs into a poster, an old poster that is a picture of a pinup girl dressed up as a sailor. Did you have that at all in your game, Matt?
Nope, I did not.
My God, dude, you missed out on some great stuff. So he comments saying, "Oh man, nice poster," kind of thing, or something like that. And one of the subtle things is like you're playing as Conrad and you're just exploring, right? And there's static camera angles for the most part. But once you reach a certain part of navigating, the camera changes. There is one that ever so slightly, right before the camera angle changes as you're moving, right there at the door that you're about to walk through, the sailor pinup girl pops up, doesn't do anything, doesn't make a sound, no nothing. It's just a little flash. It's almost like it's like in Fight Club whenever Brad Pitt flashes on the screen for a split second there.
Yeah.
And it was just bam, that. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay. And there's another part later on where you're going through the med bay, the medical bay area, and there's those beds that are all next to each other.
Yep.
And as you're walking by, there's nothing there in the darkness, but when your flashlight flashes at it for probably a 1.5 seconds, the pinup girl's there kind of posing in this really weird way. And and Conrad does go, ah! But then it's gone again. And Fliss is like, what are you screaming about? He's like, oh, nothing, don't worry about it. But eventually he gets separated from the rest of the group and then gets stalked by this thing. And it starts out, she comes, like, he's in this room, and she's kind of dancing in front of him. He's like, what the hell is this? And as she walks up to him, her face slowly turns into like a ghost face, and then it turns into an old woman that's dressed up as a sailor.
It's like The Shining.
It turns into The Shining.
Yeah.
And then eventually turns into an Until Dawn Wendigo. Almost. And I'm just like, oh God. But that was a great one. And I'll come back to that in a minute because this happens a little bit later on. Playing as Fliss, she is being stalked by what seems like demons. So, the first big thing with Fliss that happens is she runs into what looks like a pristine ballroom. Grand piano, like a nightclub setting almost.
Yeah. Was this the room with the stage?
Yes, the room with the stage. And this is obviously out of the norm because, I mean, it looks like, it's lit up. It looks like she just stepped into 1947, like, Cotton Club kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's not decayed and everything else on the ship has been.
Yeah. But there's some stuff that's off. Like there's a fountain there that's pouring blood. And there is a book sitting there. And when she opens it up, it's full of satanic ritual stuff. So pentagrams, and there's pictures of like, demons in it and stuff like that. And then, well, if you go up to the stage there is a nice big coffin sitting there. And, well, you have the option of interacting with the coffin, which is opening the coffin. And that's when the coffin is filled with blood, and a arm reaches out and grabs Fliss from the blood.
Yeah. I got really confused after this part, and I couldn't tell if it was a glitch or if it was part of the unsettling nature of her psychological state.
Okay.
Because so I went through, I did this whole section, and then I exited the room to go like on the outside of the ship.
Yep.
And then it immediately cut to a scene where she was back inside that room.
Yes. So basically, what that was that everything was pristine. She walks outside, and she's outside for the first time since she's entered this whole place. Yeah. She's letting the rain drip on her. She turns back around, walks back inside, and nothing's pristine anymore. Everything's rusted out like it always was. That was the point of that.
Yeah.
It was played weird, though.
Yeah, like there was something about the way it was cut that
there is
I couldn't tell what was happening.
Yeah, there is multiple cuts in this game that feel off.
I also had a bit of a glitch throughout the entire game where whenever I was walking left, the left side of my screen would flicker white.
Yeah.
I don't think it was my TV at all. It was just something about the edge of the screen when it was like loading things on the left side. I don't know. Maybe it was just something about my install or whatever. I don't know, but
I also had a glitch where I was playing as Brad with Julia, and Julia was controlled by the AI. She stood in the doorway, and I could never get past her. She wouldn't move. She wouldn't do nothing. I had to restart. Luckily, it started me back where practically where I was. But she was inside the room this time instead of just sitting there at the doorway where I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
So, I mention all these encounters because of a few things. The first thing being is that while some of this is going on, it cuts to different characters, particularly Brad. Brad decides he needs to buck up and stop hiding and enter the World War II ship. So we see him.
How long do you suppose he was on the Duke of Milan by himself?
It actually, every time it switches to a different character, it tells you what the time is. I think he was on the Duke of Milan for about an hour.
Yeah.
I think it was like...
Doesn't seem completely unreasonable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we entered the World War II ship, it was like 1:40 a.m., and I think when he entered the ship, it was like 2:30 something.
Yeah.
But so Brad makes it onto the ship. He is now separated from everybody. Everybody else is on it, not necessarily on their own. Some of them get separated. Some of them are together, but they are all on the run from the hijackers, the kidnappers. They're looking for them. The kidnappers also took the distributor cap from the engine from the Duke of Mulan. I'll make a man out of you. But so we can't start the boat back up. So the kidnappers have the thing we need to get the boat running. And that's one of the little quests that we're trying to do is get that distributor cap back. Also, try not to get killed. Also, try not to get caught by ghosts. But
it's a harrowing ghost ship.
Yes. So, Brad has now entered, and he has a couple of options here. So, where he goes, there is a whole lot of this green fog stuff. But I don't know if you found this, Matt. Did you find a gas mask?
Yeah. Yeah, because he goes to like a locker room and some bathrooms.
Yes.
think it was in one of the lockers.
Yeah. So you had him
Yep.
with the gas mask?
Yeah, because this was the one I think what happened is, it was an available locker to search, so I did, and it was a scary mask, right? And then you walk away, and the locker pops back open. So like, all right, well, something's still in there. So I went back and looked at it, and instead of the creepy mask, it was a gas mask.
Right. And so, did he ever use the mask?
No.
Okay. So
He just kind of wore it on his shoulder for the rest of the time.
Ah, okay. So there is a part in the game where you are allowed to put on the mask. And it actually changes up a few things. I can't remember the specifics.
Yeah, having played it, it certainly seems like a useful thing to have on the ship.
Exactly. So, as you're playing through this ship, you start to notice there is this weird green mist fog stuff floating all around. It originally came from what looked like a bunch of coffins that were on the ship back in 1947. And we can't really figure out what this stuff is. But whatever, there's ghosts all over the ship, and also there's guys with guns.
Yeah, it just automatically assumed they were vampires, right? When you've got, because there's these 4 coffins that are loaded, but they're also like not just loaded to transport them. They're loaded in a bit of a respectful way. Right there,
and there's one that has chains on it.
Yeah, one's got chains on it, and there's just 4. Like they're taking up way more space than they need. Like there's a bit of reverence for these caskets. So you think something's in there,
Right. So,
which obviously assumed vampires. But.
So I want to talk about the encounters that everybody has. I'll start off with Julia. Julia begins to see multiple versions of Alex. In fact, there is a part where Alex and Alex get into a fight.
Yeah.
And one of them starts drowning the other one. And you have to choose, keep drowning him, or no, he'll drown. Which one did you choose there?
I said, stop, you'll drown him.
Okay. And so she's seeing multiple versions of Alex, her in my game, her fiance. One of which has the weird glass eye. I've already talked about Conrad. Conrad had this crazy, weird demon pinup girl sailor thing chasing after him that turned into like this evil old woman. And it's chasing him around the ship. We had Fliss, who is seeing demonic stuff.
Yeah.
And some really crazy, weird ritual stuff. Trying to think. Does Alex really see anything? Is there any encounters with Alex? I can't think of any.
Yeah, nothing other than just I think he saw some just kind of generic demons and ghosts, right?
Right. And then Brad's kind of the same way.
Yeah, he just kind of sees quote-unquote demons.
So, I say all this to go back to Fliss, because Fliss, if you play as her and do a certain thing, you kind of get a pretty good reveal. So, we mentioned that she is in this pristine-looking nightclub-looking area with a coffin. We open the coffin. It's filled with blood. A hand reaches out, scares the crap out of you. She then leaves that room, comes back into it, and everything is rusted out just like it was on the rest of the ship. When we return to that coffin, it is now a very large crate. And it's also labeled Manchurian gold. And when you open it up, there is no gold. It's actually just a bunch of chemicals. And that's when I first played this game. I said, aha. Gotcha. Did you get this, Matt?
No, I never. I went through that room, but I didn't go back to the crate after.
You should have went back to the crate.
Yeah, I certainly should have. There was a couple of things I know I missed in this game where I assumed I'd be able to backtrack, and I couldn't. So I just kind of had to earmark them for the next playthrough.
I got you.
This was one of them.
So, while exploring the World War II ship, Matt, do you have anybody else perish?
Not until the end.
Boy. Okay. So, after all these crazy scares and stuff like that, one of the big things that happens is that Fliss and Brad finally run into each other. The only problem is as I'm playing as Fliss, Brad has a big wrench in his hand, and he is attempting to knock the living crap out of Fliss. Luckily, I'm able to dodge out of these attacks, but I have the option. I have the option to stab him with a knife that I found. And I chose not to do it. At that point, it shows Brad's point of view. And the demons that he saw disappear. And it's just Fliss standing there. And that's when they kind of solidified the fact that, oh, not everything is what it seems.
Yep, all makes sense now.
Yep. So, everybody eventually reconvenes with each other. I will mention one other thing that happened. You have Conrad being chased by the creepy pinup girl old woman. There is a part where he's finally escaping this thing. It's cornered him to the point where he is up on the top of the ship, and he is basically slowly inching his way to the edge, and you have the option to either confront this monster that is chasing you or jump. I chose to confront, and as he is confronting it, the creepy pinup lady turns into Fliss. And she says, "What the hell are you doing?" So, I somehow saved Connor from probably jumping to his death. But, yeah. After that, everybody reconvenes. And they have a nice long little discussion. Before that, though, when everybody makes it to kind of like this little safe area, we get the end of Act 2, and we get another talk with the narrator. He offers us yet another hint, Matt. Did you take that one?
I did.
Okay. Reluctantly again?
Yeah.
Did this one help you out any?
No.
It didn't me either, because I already knew it. Because his hint was that it seems like supernatural stuff is happening on this ship, but is it supernatural, or is there a more scientific explanation for everything?
Yeah, because I still hadn't seen any evidence that people were hallucinating, really. So I was like, okay, a scientific explanation. It could be, it could be a virus. It could be that, there was some chemical that made people go deranged. It could be something, right? And turned them into monsters. So, I was thinking it was going to be not supernatural as in not demonic, but still monsters by some other means.
Gotcha. So, this is where, when I first played this game, I was like, this is actually pretty intelligent. So, instead of us making this, holding it back for the end of the episode, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal it. There actually are no monsters or ghosts on this ship. The Manchurian Gold was actually the code name for a bioweapon chemical that was used in World War II as an experiment to use against the Japanese. And the number one thing that it did was make you hallucinate to the point where things were so terrifying for you that you keeled over of a heart attack and died. And unfortunately, everybody who had boarded the ship has just got a big dose of that stuff.
Yeah, I was avoiding the mist the whole time, or aware of the mist the whole time, and just assumed that it was some kind of, I don't know, mutagenic poison or something. I didn't actually realize what was happening in this game until just about the end when when I made a poor choice.
Oh, man. I think I know the ending you got. So, but yeah, I thought it was really intelligent because of the things that you see. So, Conrad, he saw that poster of the pinup girl. Now he has this deranged freaking pinup girl chasing after him. Fliss finds a book on demonic stuff randomly. Now she's seeing demons. Julia, her biggest thing was, I've got my fiance on board with me. Oh God, he's the man I trust, right? Why do I have a bunch of Alexes trying to kill me? But the thing is that everything that is chasing these people is real. It's just an altered version of what they are. So, the reason why, at the very beginning of the game, when you're playing as Joe, you see that little ghost boy jump into the, jump into the, what is it called, the locker. If you shoot the locker, a little ghost boy comes out of the locker and scares him to death. If you don't shoot the locker, a little ghost boy comes out with a knife and stabs him. Come to find out, that little ghost boy was actually Charlie with a knife.
Yep. And he's seeing his son, like, because when you wake up, you see by his bed, he's got a picture of his son.
Exactly.
Right, and he's thinking about his son, misses his son because he's out on assignment, deployment.
So it all kind of makes sense.
Yep. It's most of this I got kind of at the end of the game, and it was kind of a nice tick up in my appreciation of the game.
Sure.
Because up until this point, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. But when it all starts to click for me, I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool.
So here's the other thing. And this is, I don't know this because I didn't get it firsthand, but I did get secondhand information. If you're playing co-op, anytime you confront or being chased by something, you're actually getting it by your co-op partner.
That's pretty cool.
So if you're playing as Fliss and you decide to stab Brad because he's trying to attack you, Oh no, you just killed a character on accident. A character that I was controlling. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's interesting because that can only be impactful the first time you play it, but it is a game that warrants repeat playthroughs. But it's just kind of more incentive to play through the second time because you're like, it all makes more sense to me now. It's a Sixth Sense type of second viewing.
Yeah. So, after reconvening with everybody, we're like, okay, there is a radio tower on this ship. It looks like it's still working. I have an issue with that, but, whatever. So let's try to make it to the radio tower and see if we can call for help. All right. So, that's our next big objective. Doesn't take very long to get there. In fact, the last third act of this game is very short compared to the other acts.
Yeah. Even shorter if you're down a couple people, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So when we make it to the radio tower, we find a military channel, and we have a few options here. We can give coordinates. We can name, like, hey, we're on, I can't remember what it's, the USS something. But we can say, hey, we're on the ship and we need help. Or you can just give coordinates. I chose to give coordinates because I figured that would be a lot more helpful than just giving the name of the ship.
Yep.
Is that what you did, Matt?
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Okay. So, but the power goes out, and we got to figure out a way to get the generator back running. So I have Brad and Julia go to the bottom to find the generator.
Brad kind of steps up here. He's like, I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to man up.
And I think Alex has the whole bro moment of like, hey, man, I'm proud of you. You're doing good.
Yeah. This, to me, was the counterpoint to, the scene early on in the ship where he's basically like, come on, don't be such a wuss. Don't embarrass me. So, I had a little bit of a strange... I thought their relationship was a little bit strange.
It felt forced.
Yeah, it felt a little forced. Like they didn't really feel like brothers. Or, if they were, they weren't terribly close, and if that's the case, there wasn't really much of an explanation for why, other than that they do kind of peg Alex as insecure. And so, I guess it would make some sense that, he doesn't want his brother to embarrass him because he thinks that Julia would change her mind or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a little bit there, but it didn't feel terribly powerful. It didn't felt like he's had this epiphany or he's had this, come to Jesus moment and now all of a sudden appreciates his brother more. I guess the short of it is Alex just comes off as really unlikable to me.
Right.
Not as somebody who's insecure and, can't get out of his own way, but just as someone who's kind of a prick.
Yeah, but really only with the interactions with Brad.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's true. I just couldn't peg him, really. Wasn't sure what to make of him. Which, in a game like this, I'm never really sure if that's the way he's drawn, or if because of the choices I've made, I've missed things that would help shed light on his character.
Right. So, with Brad and Julia going down the lower deck, we eventually find the generator. We get it turned back on, and we start getting chased. At the same time, we do find the rebreather, one of the rebreathers.
Yep.
And I said to bring it with us. You never know when you might need it. Unfortunately...
Despite Julia not wanting to bring it with us?
Yeah, Julia didn't want to bring it with us. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, even then, like, even Brad said it the best. He's like, we're on a ship that's probably going to sink soon. Don't you think that would be something we need?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I think, Julia.
Plus, you can wear it as a backpack. It's not like you have to carry it around and be tied up.
But she carried it around. But we're getting chased by good old One-Eye Willie. What's his name? Olson. He's chasing after us. Still got that distributor cap. He ends up stabbing one of his own guys.
Danny, right?
Danny, yeah. And throws Danny, I don't know where he throws him. He throws him somewhere. But then he starts chasing after us. The reason why is because, well, I fail every stinking heartbeat test here. I'm talking every one of them. So I end up losing the rebreather because he's chasing after us. And we run and close the door on him. But, unfortunately, we run into Junior. Junior is armed with a gun.
Yeah, and going a bit nuts.
Junior is going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And he is seeing things. He is hearing things. But he's figured it out. He's like the green mist. The green mist gets inside of you and it turns you into something else. And I have to convince him that neither of us have breathed in the green mist.
Yeah, I like his fairly logical comeback to this. He's like, you held your breath the whole time? What about right now? Are you holding your breath right now? And I'm like, a good point, because they're clearly not.
Yeah. And that's when he gets the realization. I'm like, yeah, I held my breath. He's like, you held your breath this entire time? For the past 3 hours, you've been holding your breath. He's like, wait a minute, I haven't held my breath either. Oh, God, it's in me. And so he puts the gun to his head, getting ready to kill himself. What did you do, Matt?
I tried to distract him.
Okay. What happened there?
It didn't work.
Okay, he still shot himself?
Yeah, he shot himself in the head.
I tried to grab for the gun. Went for the gun. He pushes Brad off of him and then shoots himself in the head. So I think there is a way to save Junior?
I think you can save him if you passed the QuickTime event with Olsen and still had your rebreather.
Yes.
I did not. The only time I failed the heartbeat one was that second time because they're kind of crazy close to each other and there's just a lot of them and I was feeling good because I hadn't missed one yet, but at some point on the second round with Olsen, I did slip up and then they ran.
I slipped up every time. I only passed 3 of these the entire game. The first one, the one with Brad where Olsen's walking around in the bathroom.
Yep.
And then there was one other one, but I can't remember what it was. The last 3, 2 with Olsen, or actually 3 with Olsen, 2 with Brad, and 1 with Alex. I failed them all. So, unfortunately, Junior shot himself in the head. He is dead. After that, we then play again as Alex, and we have more options to talk to get help before I guess it finally just dies. The radio just dies.
Yep.
What option did you choose here, Matt?
I gave them the name of the ship.
Okay.
The orangutan or the orbalang or
yeah, something like that. I can't ever remember it. I did not. I said that there's crazy people on board trying to kill us. Please send help now. And they said, okay, we got your location. We're on our way to you. Cool. We got the military after us now.
Just got to survive.
Yep, just got to survive until dawn. But that's coming up really close because Alex then runs into Olson.
Yeah, what did he jump down for? To help out?
Yeah, he jumped down to try and find some things that could help them. He said that there's probably some equipment I can use.
Oh yeah, here. No particular reason, but yeah, we've got some space and time, and I'll go searching.
Yeah, and he runs into Olson. At this point, Olson has went full on insane.
Yeah,
he has a sledgehammer he's swinging around. He also still has the distributor cap. We really want to get that distributor cap. So, yeah. This is when Alex finally starts seeing some major stuff happen. So, not only is he having to make sure he's not getting sledgehammered by Olson, he's also getting chased by certain things. He sees the ghost of his brother, Brad, at one point.
Yep.
He has a horde of rats coming after him.
It's almost a comical non-confrontation with Olson.
Yeah.
In that he just kind of... I think he sees us and gets scared or hears us.
Yes.
Wanders off and then dies.
Yes.
By himself.
He dies by himself. What actually kills him?
Heart attack?
Is that what happened? It was just a heart attack?
So, yeah.
So, we run, find Olson's body. It is completely covered with rats that are eating his flesh. In retrospect, I really don't think those rats were there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because we have a bunch of quick time events with rats jumping on us, and we have to knock them off.
Which I assume then, if the game logic stands, that if you fail that, nothing happens.
Possibly.
Because they're not actually there.
Or the rats fall on top of him, and he thinks he's completely covered with rats, and then dies of a heart attack. Or he falls back and trips over something and breaks his neck. I mean, there's so many ways you could kill somebody doing this.
Yeah.
But I was able to survive all that. Got the distributor cap. Bam, we're good to go. But as we're getting ready to leave this room, bam, a two-headed, giant, ugly tumor mass person with two faces attacks us.
Which we have seen once or twice before in the game, just kind of silhouetted once and then I think from the back once.
Yeah. And
so this is one of the things I assumed was going to be stalking us for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So it finally makes its attack. It's right there in the doorway, and we've got a kitchen knife, and we have to stab it. I chose not to stab it.
I said, finally, I can kill this demon. Because I think there was was this the point where there was a choice where there was a rat burst through my chest, and I think I could either stab the rat or I could stab the demon?
That's correct.
And I said, I'm not stabbing myself. I don't think the rat is real. I'm going to kill the demon.
Okay. So I chose to not do anything, and he snaps out of it.
Yeah. Obviously, in hindsight, the right thing to do.
So who did you stab?
Fliss.
Yes.
Repeatedly. Three different times, I think.
Oh,
so she was...
God.
She was well stabbed.
She was well dead. Oh, man. So Alex killed Fliss.
Yep.
But he's still alive. Still got the distributor cap. We're good to go, right? That's the last confrontation.
Yep.
So, yeah. I did not stab Fliss. He snapped out of it. Fliss is standing there. She's like, "Hey, you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, something weird's going on." She's like, "All right, let's get the hell out of here." And we all leave. So we got the distributor cap, get back on the Duke of Milan, and we have Brad, Alex, Julia, Fliss, and Conrad sail off away into the into the sunrise, excuse me. And credits begin to roll.
Yep, that's what happened to me, except obviously Fliss wasn't there. And also then I got that kind of 5-second cutscene of Conrad just floating.
That was your final scene?
Yep. Well, final scene until after the credits.
Okay. What scene did you have after the credits?
After the credits, I had... After the credits, I had the military board the ship. They finally showed up.
Yep.
They went wandering around the ship. And then there were 2 of them, and then they got attacked, I think, by Danny?
Yes.
And he had Olsen's, sledgehammer?
Yes.
And killed the both of them.
Yes. That was exactly what I got. Danny was still alive. He was majorly hallucinating, and he killed those 2 military guys. I'm assuming he didn't live much longer after that.
Yep.
So, that was the ending that I got. So, according to the guide, I didn't go by a guide, but according to the guide, I got the official good ending. There is also another good ending with if for some reason there's the conditions. All right, I'll tell you what. I've got it up right here.
So you don't get a better good ending for having saved everybody?
I mean, that was my ending.
Oh.
So, here are the 9 endings to the 9 official endings. I looked this up. It's the gamer website or whatever. All right, the best ending. Everyone survives and gets off the boat. If you want the best ending in the game, meaning all your characters survive and they live happily ever after far away from the ghost ship, you'll have to execute perfection. That means you'll need to hit every QTE moment and keep calm when appropriate. If this is the ending you want, you'll probably want to follow a step-by-step walkthrough. Some of the most notable choices you need to make to ensure Alex proposes and making sure that nothing happens to your distributor cap at the end of the game.
I guess the point there, because I had picked it up, and then right after I picked it up, Olsen's body fell down a elevator shaft.
Yes, that happened to me too.
So maybe if I hadn't picked it up because of the rats, I would have lost it. Could that have happened?
Yes, that could have happened, or yeah, I think that may be the issue. Ending number 8, or ending number 2, Conrad saves the day. This ending is pretty
not likely in my game.
Yeah, this ending is pretty similar to the game's best ending, except in this one, Conrad gets to have some of the glory for a change. If you recall at the beginning of the game, there is a moment during the raid of the Duke of Milan where Conrad has a chance to escape on a fishing boat. You might not have gone that option thinking it would cause his death, but if you let him escape and you destroy the distributor cap, he'll return at the end to save everyone. Again, you'll need to keep everyone alive for this to work. Okay.
Interesting.
Number 3, Conrad gets stuck alone in the nightmare. This ending can be achieved the same way as the one with Conrad saving the day, except the key difference is you have to keep the distributor cap safe. If you have it, the game will escape the ship. By the time Conrad arrives, it's too late and he's left there all alone. Technically everyone survives, but poor Conrad winds up in a terrible nightmare. Next ending. This is the one that I thought you got. The military kills everyone.
Like they survived but couldn't get off the ship, and then the military kills them?
Yes. Shifting from a relatively good ending to a bad ending, there is, of course, an ending option where all the characters die, but not technically by your own hand. What is so horrific about this ending that you think you might have made it out alive, only to watch all the survivors get murdered by the military? For this ending,
that would have been a kind of cool, shocking end.
Yeah. For this ending, you'll have to tell the military the name of your ship, let the distributor cap get destroyed, and keep Conrad with you. The military doesn't want the truth of the bioweapon escaping, so they systematically murder all of your friends.
Oh, shit. It's a little bit like the Mist ending.
The next ending, you manage to kill everybody. To be fair to the game, it's not that easy to kill all of your characters during your playthrough. You might mess up and kill one or two, but odds are you won't murder all of the characters before you make it to the end, unless you intentionally are trying to, or you seriously mess up. But
yeah, I was going to say, I assume that's as hard as keeping everybody alive.
Yeah. But if somehow you murder everyone before you get to the finale, you'll get a very weird post-credit scene that involves a mysterious version of Olsen with glowing red eyes. It is also possible to get this ending if you escape on the Duke of Milan, or you don't contact the military but have fixed the distributor cap. Everyone goes to jail. This ending is somewhat similar to the ending where the military shows up and kills everyone, except if you want to get this one instead, you need to refrain from revealing the boat's name over the radio. You will also have to let the distributor cap get destroyed. Then at the game's end, your survivors will be confused as to what they should do next when the military arrives. They believe they're saved at first, but the final post-credit scene shows them all locked up in cells. Next ending, Julia dies. This ending is pretty tragic. Early on in the game, when Julia and Alex are exploring the shipwreck alone, there is a moment where Julia panics. They are returning to the surface when they see explosions on the ship. Julia worries that Conrad could be hurt and wants to rush to see him. But Alex tries to stop her, warning her that if she goes too fast, she'll get decompression sickness, also known as the bends. If you let Julia surface too quickly, she'll die at the end of the game. Even if you get a happy ending, suddenly Julia will succumb and die in the middle of the escape. It's super depressing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually read about that one because I thought there was two parts to that, though. I thought you had to let her rise quickly and then also drink a beer later in the game. And those two things were going to trigger her, because I do remember right after they came up, they were talking about it that evening. Yeah, and you have the option to, you're passing beers out as Connor.
Right.
And I think, I thought I read only if she drinks it and rose quickly would she die, but regardless, yeah, that would be kind of a interesting ending where you're really happy, you're just watching this play out, you're like satisfied that you've saved everybody, and then she just keels over dead. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, that would piss me off. All right, next ending. Everyone remains stranded on the ship. If you fail to give the military your coordinates or the ship's name, Conrad doesn't escape on the boat, and you destroy the distributor cap, then your survivors will all wind up stranded on a creepy boat forever. You'll be privy to several scenes of various members being driven insane inside or confronted by their evil counterparts. Yeah,
I can't imagine they'd last terribly long on that ship.
No. And then various character deaths. Finally, depending on who lives and who dies, your endings can be affected by characters struggling with grief. If Conrad dies and Julia lives, she'll be devastated by his loss. The same can be said for Alex and Brad if one of the brothers dies.
It's interesting because I had Conrad die, but Julia lived, but she didn't know he was dead.
Yeah, that's true.
So she didn't feel that because he was just off by himself.
Right. If Fliss dies, then someone else has to take over as captain of the ship. The scenes aren't necessarily an overall tonal ending. They occur regardless of whether you wind up at the military or free on the Duke of Milan, but they can cause subtle influences that will present you with new scenes.
Yeah, for me, it was Julia driving the boat.
Oh, there you go. And, yeah, that's the ending that I got. I got the good ending where everybody escapes and the military show up, and then, well, two of them get killed by Danny with a sledgehammer.
Yep. So I got most of the good ending.
Yeah, there was a couple of deaths in there.
Yep. One accidental and one, that really solidified it, because that's a pretty good scene. I mean, I guess, there were enough hints that, maybe I should have seen it coming, but that's a pretty good scene when you finally kill this demon and then you're like, oh shit, what have I done?
I mean, you knew he was probably hallucinating, right?
Yeah, because of the mist.
But what did you think it was he was stabbing?
Nothing.
I think the choice there is to not do anything to get the right choice.
Yeah.
If you stab the rat, he probably ends up stabbing himself.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
And if you stab the monster, you stab Fliss.
Yep.
So, there you go. So what'd you think, Matt?
It was a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a lot, but I don't think the characters were as good as Until Dawn. I think the way that you can impact the game, like the weight of your choices, is very good. But I almost wish they had gone one step further and actually had different backgrounds to what was happening. Right, the whole Manchurian Gold as, the chemical weapon. I almost wish that was just one of 3 or 4 endings where, maybe on another one there actually are demons, and then maybe on another one, I don't know, maybe it was vampires in the caskets, and I almost wish they had gone that, like, you could play it and it would be a totally different story, not just different endings. Maybe that would be too hard to do, but or at least the way Heavy Rain did, where you wouldn't even find out who the killer was in a certain situation. I almost wish that you could have played this game and thought that the demons were real because you never found out about the Manchurian Gold. Right? And just, to really give a bit of a different perspective. I think if they had done that, that would have been, I don't know, maybe just more impressive. But the story that was there was good, especially if you're only talking about a 4 or 5 hour game. I think they packed about as much into it as they could. I like the fact that the characters, I really like the fact that the characters kind of see what's on their mind, and that's what gets manifested into their hallucinations. That gives it a much more personalized horror to the characters, which would have been, absolutely amazing if I had cared more about the characters. I didn't, I already mentioned the Brad and Alex situation. I didn't really buy their relationship. I didn't get all that much between Julia and Conrad. Now, to be fair, Conrad wasn't around very much in my story, but I didn't get much of their relationship, or at least much that was interesting.
Yeah, Conrad turned out to be probably the best character.
That's unfortunate.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the one that gets beat up the most. I mean, like, when he tries to escape and gets caught, they beat the crap out of him. I even had him, like, they cut off a sliver of his ear. Like, he was busted all to hell by the end of this game. But he turns out to be kind of like the jokester of the whole thing.
Yep. The jokester and the rogue.
Yeah. But
so I don't know. I mean, there was nothing offensive about the characters, but I didn't ever have an attachment to any of them. And
Sure.
to me, that was, in a game that's narrative, I think that's kind of a problem. And in a game where you've gone the extra step and really tied those psychological horrors to the character, that's brilliant. I mean, that's perfect. And that's a way you can really reveal the characters and really dive into what makes them tick, what's the thing that they're afraid of. But there just needed to be something more for me to tie that together, like Julia seeing the Alexes. If there was more time diving into her uncertainties about the relationship, or maybe she doesn't feel like she knows him, and she's not sure, if this is just another side of him. They could have really dove into that, and that would have been a really nice psychological evaluation of what makes her tick. But that just wasn't there. I mean, maybe it was hinted at, but it just was not really fully explored.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was a really good game as a superficial game. Like, I would have loved to see 2 or 3 more hours of this game to get to know the characters better, to have the characters be better. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of my overriding sense, is that I liked what was there. I just wish that there was more meat on the bones.
Yeah. And then you got the small little teaser for Little Hope at the end. Mm. So are you excited for Little Hope?
Yeah, I certainly am. I don't know where I expect it to fall, right? Like, I guess I kind of expect it to be more like Man of Medan, but I don't see that at all as a bad thing. Like, I want more just like this. Like, I don't, I can set myself up now with the expectation that it is a little bit smaller scope. Maybe I won't get the elaborate story, but as long, like, if Little Hope can be as good as Man of Medan, but with 1 or 2 really good characters, I would love it. And that's all I want out of these games.
Right.
Just give me more like this, but different, and with at least a good hook of a character, and I'm in.
From what I understand, Little Hope is I compared it to Jeepers Creepers 2. Apparently a high school football team. Somebody, it's like a high school bus breaks down, and they're out in the middle of nowhere at this little town called Little Hope, and apparently stuff goes down there.
Yep, already in.
Yep. Either crazy locals or monsters or something. So I'm in as well. So hopefully we won't have to wait too long for that one. Actually, let me look. Just out of curiosity. I'm still seeing the day before Halloween.
Maybe I'm missing a more recent article here.
It's claiming October 30th of 2020. Little Hope.
So do you think that they're going to do anything more meta? I haven't heard how many episodes they're planning for this. Have you?
I think they said they were going to do 4 altogether.
4? Yeah, I just kind of guessed 4, but do you think they'll do anything to tie them together, or do you think everyone will stay, other than maybe the curator, or do you think that they'll all stay separate?
I would assume they're going to stay separate.
Yep. I was just going to say, I think that would help elevate it if they tied it together somehow, but they don't need to, and I think, just given the scope, I think they would keep it. I think they would keep it separate.
Right. Oh, I think I know who this kid is in Little Hope.
Yeah, he's the guy from Bandersnatch, I think.
Yeah. Is that... Yeah, okay, yeah. Isn't he the kid or the guy that's from Midsummer as well?
Yep. Yep, he's in Midsummer.
That's what I was thinking.
The Orang Medan, or Medan. That's the name of the ship.
Well, there you go. Do not have any...
Bit of a last-minute change-up.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I think it was good.
Yeah, I'm glad we did. I hadn't played it before. I had never even started it before. And I enjoy this type of game. I mean, I love Quantic Dreams games. I still think that those are some of the best of this type. I think this holds up well as well. I wouldn't say it's as good as Quantic Dreams' best, and I wouldn't say it's as good as Until Dawn, but it was definitely a fun, short little ride. Absolutely.
I feel like if they can improve on Man of Medan, I think they got a good thing on their hands.
Yep.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. But yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I can think of. So Matt, you are going to be traveling the next 4 weeks.
Yep. Well, 3. Yeah, not next week, but then the 3 after.
Right. So, would you think you'd be down for maybe doing like an intermission show next week?
Yep, next week or the week after. I could do either.
Okay, we can do that.
Or both. We could do both.
Yeah, that works too. I just feel like starting another game would be kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
And since we're getting so close to episode 100, still trying to keep everything there for that. Still haven't narrowed that down just yet, but we're getting close, I think.
Yeah, certainly a good few options.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll definitely have to talk about that. In fact, maybe that's a good topic for next week.
Yep.
When we do the intermission show. But if you would like to send us an email, tell us about Man of Medan. I know there were some people who wanted to play along with us, and it was a last-minute change, and I get it. Some people, didn't hear it in time and stuff like that, and that's okay. But if you'd like to send us an email, how your game ended and how you felt about it, please do. It's drew@ztgd.com. You can also tweet to us. I am at Drew Leachman, and Matt is at REMGS. The podcast itself is at ZTGD Phoenix Down. But that's going to be it for us. Hopefully that's spooky enough for you for the Halloween season. But we are going to continue with our Nightmare Before Christmas in December for Dead Space 3. But we will be back next week. And until then, I am Drew.
And I'm Matt.
And we're gone. You guys have a great one. We'll be back next week with a little intermission show, maybe discussing what Game 100 may be.
Won't you spare me over till another year? Oh, death. Won't you spare me over till another year? Well, what is this that I can't see with ice cold hands taking hold of me? Well, I am death, none can excel. I open the door to heaven or hell.
Everybody's looking, trying to find a way out. See them seeing every day what this world's all about. You're realizing that it's hard, you're trying to pick the right path. There's poor people, poor streets inside the neighborhood mass, bearing scars of the past. They keep trying to escape destiny within their eyes. These are the tears of our fate, all these numbers of our lives that we keep trying to equate. The God is living every day, we're in search of that gate. Pray.
Oh, death, won't you spare me over till another year? Oh, death, someone would pray, won't you come and call me another day? The children prayed, the preacher preached, time and mercy is out of your reach.
Lo and behold, the pale horse and the rider who decides the fate of one who made a failed choice. With a tail off behind it, the trails off in the fire that spark those who don't know they're stuck on a stale course. Yeah, we all face death when it comes to take your breath, usually without knowing how many days are left. Some raise their chest, others cower when it comes, whether you're living in the towers or down in the slums.
Oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over till another year? Well, I'll fix your feet till you can't walk, I'll lock your jaw till you can't talk, I'll close your eyes till you can't see this very hour. Come and go with me.
Praying heaven's coming, praying it doesn't come late. This is for real, man. It's how I push through my pain. When ashes always falling in death's rain. It's cold outside, death look me in my eyes. Hold through these plans, man, we gotta be wise. Hold through together, cause then they will rise. I'm saying peace for all my people that can see through the lies. Can that la brisa running up her thighs while she's singing.
Oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over till another year? I'm death, I come to take the soul, to leave the body and leave it cold. Roll up the flesh off of the frame, dirt and worm both have a claim.
Take a moment to reflect on. Think of all the things in your life that you slept on, or slipped through your fingers like Teflon, cause you lost your focus, steady thinking about the next joint. Saying that the next dawn you'd make things better, but you didn't get a chance to make your reparations. Better make some preparations, but if you're not ready yet, death comes for all of us, my friends, so you better get.
Oh, death, oh, death, won't you spare me over till another year? 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 Won't you spare me over till another year?